Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Orange County Realtors Independent Broker Alliance Forum, for the last one for 2020. Hopefully everyone is staying safe with the new lockdown order. It looks like Christmas shopping will be all online. Sorry to say, I'm one of those who actually hates to go to the mall, but this year, for whatever reason, because I can't do it now, I want to do it.
Right.
But either way, we appreciate your time and commitment for attending today. I'm Tim Hayden, Chair of the Independent Broker Alliance Committee. And we're going to wait a few seconds here just to make sure we got everyone online. So give us a few seconds, everyone, and we will get started. We'll start with the pledge here in a second. Tiffany, if you want to go ahead and get the graphic up, if everyone will put their hand over heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Perfect. Thank you. Today, we give a big welcome to NAR's Vince Malta, 2021 Immediate Past President, Otto Katrina, 2021 President-elect, CAR, of course, Orange County Realtors, and Lori Namazi, 2021 President, Orange County Realtors. But first, I would like to introduce Daniel Corliss, 2021 Immediate Past President. In 1997, Danielle started with Coldwell Banker and was awarded Rookie of the Year for our region. 3 busy years later, Danielle got married and her husband Jim joined her in real estate. Throughout the years, even though she had her broker's license, she chose to follow her manager as his career advanced. Danielle has been affiliated with large brokerages, boutique firms, and even luxury real estate company. In 2008, Danielle and Jim took the best of what they learned over the years and decided to open Corliss Realty. With that, I welcome Danielle. Danielle.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Good to have you all here with us. So the first part, we're going to ask some questions of Vince and Otto, and then I will be sharing with you some of the challenges of 2020 and how they became an opportunity for growth. And then we will end our time together with our 2021 President, Lori Namazi, as she shares with us some of her thoughts going into the new year. So let's start with Vince, Otto, and Lori, just for an introduction here. Vince, maybe you could start. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Maybe tell us how you got involved in real estate, whatever you're comfortable with. Vince?
Well, thank you. I'm Vince Malta, the 2020 president of the National Association of Realtors. I've been in real estate for 44 years. I started selling real estate while I was in college. My real estate office was exactly 1 mile from my college and 1.2 miles from my law school. So it was very convenient and did that throughout. So that's how I got started because I'm a 3rd generation realtor. It was a given that I was going to get into real estate.
More like no choice, right?
No choice and no regrets.
Good, good. Love that. Otto.
Happy holidays to everyone. My name is Otto Katrina. I am the 2021 President-elect for the California Association of Realtors, and it is an honor to serve our members. Vince and I have a little commonality. Vince went to USF Law School, and I did my undergrad work at USF, so we are both USF Dons, so go Dons.
Go Dons.
I originally got licensed in 1987. I didn't have a real good experience my first time in. I was in a very successful restaurant business with my family, and very successful. And my high school teacher continually kept on trying to recruit me out of the restaurant business to get in real estate, said that I would make a lot more money selling real estate. Ended up leaving the family business and went to work for my high school teacher. And unfortunately, I lost everything. He got indicted. We did a lot of syndication work, and I was young. I invested all my 401k with him, and I said this didn't feel good back in the 80s. And then the recession hit, and went corporate for a while. Then I re-entered back and came back, got my broker's license in 2001. And it's just been a blessing ever since then, both business-wise, professionally, and then also in the volunteer field.
Nice. What a story. Good thing that you were smart enough to give it a second chance. And now look at you coming in, as president-elect for this next year. That's really impressive. Lori, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you and good morning. I'm so grateful that we were able to get Vince and Otto to join us today. And I didn't realize some of the common threads that we would all have. So I got into real estate as a second career coming from the real estate industry. The restaurant industry as well. And been in the business just about 20 years. And my daughter, who is 26 years old, will be the second generation realtor in the family. So I'm very excited about that. Just noticed the DRE has closed their offices for the next few weeks. So hopefully she'll still be able to test in January, end of January. We'll see. But nonetheless, I'm happy to be here today. And I've been the compliance officer and the designated realtor for one of the largest brokerages in Orange County. And I spent the majority of my career at that firm. And then I decided to go out on my own. And so now I am an independent broker here in Orange County, and I'm a brokerage consultant across the state for a number of new brokers who recently got their broker's license or just started their brokerage and want to make sure that they are compliant. Compliance is my passion, and with the experience I've had in the past, I've had plenty of experience with handling a lot of problematic transactions and keeping the DRE off of our back. So I'm happy to be here today and looking forward to serving the association as president next year. Thank you.
Great, excellent. Okay, so let's talk about some of the challenges. Vince, no one can deny that 2020 was a challenging year. What was most unexpected about 2020 for you, and how did you adapt that to your business? Maybe, for example, how were you motivating agents to stay engaged, keep in touch with the firm and their clients?
So biggest surprise in 2020 was the pandemic. I have to tell you, there is no realtor playbook for pandemics. And so all year we wrote one. But I think that the biggest challenge really was pivoting, was not sticking to your original game plan and doing what was best for your membership on a dime. So if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that with resiliency and adaptability and collaboration, we could accomplish anything. And that's what we did in 2020 by working together at the state, the local, and the national level. We achieved something that was unheard of. And that was deeming real estate as an essential service in virtually every state in the country. And so that was huge, so that we can keep our members in business, pivoting to programs that kept them safe, like providing them telehealth immediately so they wouldn't have to go to a doctor's office if they wanted to get screened, et cetera. So the challenge was the pivot. Now, how do you employ that in your business models? Well, our members were doing that all year. And it was a very fluid situation. So while there were local and state directives, our members had to adapt through all of those. And they did. And we did the same thing at the association level with staff working from their homes, working remotely to accomplish many services. So the good news is that I think that we're empowered to feel that if we can do this, we can do anything that 2021 throws at us. And that, I think, is probably the silver lining. Yes, we're using Zoom and we're using a lot of tools that we didn't use before, but it'll be something else. And realtors have shown they're ready for it.
Yep, good. Otto, do you have anything to add to that from your perspective?
Yeah, I spent 2019, traveling around the state as I was campaigning for the office of president-elect. And I visited all the regions, all the associations. I spent a solid year traveling, flying and driving. And then came back from President's Circle. We were back at President's Circle in Miami, and I had taken a short couple days with the family and some leadership, and we went to the Turks Caicos, and I was filling out these questionnaires, getting on a plane, and I go, this thing looks serious, you know, answering all these questions. And all of a sudden everything stopped. And for me, traveling, I love to travel. I love to engage with the members. And the biggest thing is that I had to go in front of nominating, and I was preparing, you know, questions and getting ready to go in front of nominating in April. And I had to nominate, and I had to try to convince the nominating committee that I was qualified through Zoom. And that was, I don't mind getting in front of people. I love to get in front of a crowd and answer questions, but it was different. It was different on Zoom. So that was my first real experience of being a little nervous, because I spent a year grasping and understanding what you, the members, were concerned about. What were the impediments? What were the obstacles in your business? And that's what I wanted to hear, what I could do to help bring all those collectively together, to collaborate and bring that back to leadership and implement those. And then COVID hits, and then I'm the junior member on the leadership team. So I'm kind of, you know, I'm involved in the meetings, but I'm kind of listening. And it was an accelerated, I'm sure Vince could attest to, there was no playbook. So there was an accelerated learning. We did a lot of learning in a short period of time, and wanted to make sure that our members were okay. And then in California, as you know, in different markets, we weren't essential. We shut down. So that even compounded it even more, with a lot of uncertainty with our members. So it was a big learning curve, but as I say, when we have obstacles and we have tragedies or of that nature, it does make us stronger leaders, because we do need to think different instead of continually keep on doing the same thing.
Yeah, so true, so true. Okay, so Vince and Otto, I'm going to ask you both this question. What are the top issues being discussed, both on a national and state level, maybe at our conferences? And since this forum is mostly brokers, what do brokers absolutely need to know?
So Otto, why
Vince,
don't
you
you
want to
start on
take
this
that one
one?
first?
Okay. Well, I have really enjoyed, and I don't know how many of the brokers are on this call, that we have a big broker call on Friday that CAR hosts from 11 o'clock to 12:30. And we engage with our enactments, probably about 250 brokers on an average weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our legal department. We have Gov that answers any legal questions, especially with the new forms, but pertaining to the coronavirus and with the rental implications that have been handed down most recently. We've got June Barlow updating our members regarding the Department of Justice DOJ lawsuit that is currently going on. Leslie gives a little economic update on what's going on. And the consistent thing throughout the state is that we are, business is good. And this morning, we have 100 presidents in California. This morning, I called 31 of them just to check in and see how they're doing. And so the big issue that I would say that came to the forefront, we were dealing with fire insurance. We're dealing with the blue state as a legislature regarding the rent moratoriums, both on the state implications and the federal. But fair housing has become a #1 issue for us at CAR. And I applaud CAR leadership. I applaud the panels. Last couple of weeks ago, I think, Lori, we had a panel, Deliberately Fair Housing. You guys have done a remarkable job on that. And then there's a group of you down in LA that put together our fair housing new disclosure form that some of the other states in the country are taking a look at. So the fair housing issue has become and educating our members on how the government, the federal government, state, local, and how real estate NAR and CAR played a role in some past discriminatory practices. So we are addressing those. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it's a culture. It's a culture that we're going to be able to create and educate our members. And as my dad used to tell me, he said, son, we'll get there, but let's take small bites at a time.
So if I could echo what Otto is saying regarding fair housing, that was a huge action plan for us this year, even before the social awareness that happened mid-year and the protests. We had hired Brian Green from HUD mid last year, and that was instrumental in getting a lot of our plans together, like the ACT plan. Some of you have seen the rollout of our Fairhaven simulation. I hope some of you have the opportunity to take a look at that training platform that was developed by the same people that created C2EX, and you can access it through fairhaven.realtor. The simulation takes you into the fictional town of Fairhaven, where you work against the clock to close deals as you encounter scenarios where discrimination could affect a transaction. So the participants receive feedback on their performance and resources how they could stop discrimination and implement fair housing practices. So it's one of those things where Otto can relate to this. You know, you could read about all you want about how to play football, but you got to play football. Okay, you've got to actually get in the act and physically do it, and that's what these simulations are working on. So that was huge. We made changes in MLSs. We approved changes where further participants were required to submit accurate listing data and correct known errors. So there were things that we improved on that. MLSs must display customer service and technical support contact information on their websites. How many of us have been in need of those and not being able to know who to identify? We've had that problem across the United States. We must have a process for identifying potential fair housing violations in listing content and advising participants and subscribers to remove or correct those. Under new rules, MLS participants and subscribers who receive more than 3 administrative sanctions in a year will be required to attend hearings for subsequent infractions, and their broker would be notified, would also need to attend any hearing. The recommendations would require MLSs to have the option to process complaints without revealing the complainant's name, and the rules will take effect January 1st of this year, and the local implementation deadline is March 1st, 2021. So looking forward to some of those MLS changes. Also, we have a partnership with ARP, and this will integrate ARP's livability index data into the Realtor Property Resource website and mobile apps. So that should be very useful to our members. And in case you're not aware, RPR is the nation's largest information database that's exclusively for Realtors. We also kicked off Realtors Are Good Neighbors campaign. This is different than the Good Neighbors program that we've had, because this one recognizes day in and day out membership contributions to their communities. And so it's a 365-day-a-year commitment. So how can you get involved? So number one, follow Realtors Are Good Neighbors on Facebook and Instagram. Search Realtors Are Good Neighbors on both sites to find and join the feeds, and share your stories to remind your clients and friends and family how much realtors do to make the world a better place and inspire others. What we're doing is, this time, is we're keeping track of realtor volunteer hours as part of the campaign. So we think we could easily meet a goal of 5 million hours. And I think we're at over, just as rolled out, we're at like 20,000 hours just on the rollout. So this will really provide some great data to show what realtors do in their communities and really track it in a sense. So looking forward to that because we know that even through this pandemic year, realtors did so much for their communities and stepping up. So very, very proud of them. And we've got a lot to do in relation to, I guess we can get into with new Congress coming in and how that is something we've had to do a lot in relation to maintaining flood insurance and not getting that tied to an economic bill in a sense, so that we have that secured through a good portion of next year, September 30th, I believe, this year. And we'll be engaging with a new administration very shortly about the importance of real estate, 1031 exchange, some things that we've heard rumored to go about, and we'll talk a little bit about later. So it has been a very, very busy year.
Danielle, if I could circle back to the CAR
Sure.
on a couple of other issues that are the whole housing supply issue is something that we've been talking about for a long time. And it gets complicated. And again, I'm an independent here. I'm a big advocate of the Realtor Party. I love anybody that loves real estate. I don't care if they're a Republican or they're Democrat or independent. But we are in a blue state, and we've had some challenges this year legislative-wise as far as some housing goes, where there's been some political games that have been played both between the state and between the Assembly and the Senate, and some of this stuff outside our hands. The NIMBYism that exists, not only with constituents, with the general population, but within our own membership. Some members that are against housing. I just worked on a project for a client of mine on 39 units in San Leandro, and the objections from the people about housing was phenomenal. I mean, any excuse that they could come up with, and then they complained that their son comes home from college and can't find a place to live or rent because there's no housing. But out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying that they don't want any housing because of traffic and whatever other excuses that they come up with. The homeless situation in California keeps on increasing. My son goes to law school in San Francisco at Hastings, and we go visit him. We get out of the car, and Vince is familiar with Hastings is right in the middle of the Tenderloin, and I'm not exaggerating. It is like a flea market or a farmer's market for fentanyl and crack cocaine or whatever that they're doing, heroin. And it's right out on the street. It's not even, they're trying to hide it or not. This is having a negative impact on property values and it's throughout California. I've been, when I was traveling, I was on a Pacific Coast Highway down in Malibu that is just littered with abandoned vehicles and people living in the Central Valley here where it could get to 105, 110. We have individuals that are living underneath tents. I read an article the other day, and this is what I really found disturbing, because I do have a soft, sensitive, empathetic heart toward the homeless. Our church is building 29 building a village on our property. We have 31 acres in Dublin to go ahead and house some of the homeless. But I read an article the other day that this is from the Legislative Accounting Office, that in California, that there's been a misappropriation of over $2 billion. $2 billion, that's a B, that has been supposed to have been allocated toward the homeless, toward senior, toward veteran housing, toward first-time low-income, moderate-type housing. The accountability that exists with our current legislature right now, there's an accountability that needs to be done on this. And it really is a shame, because $2 billion, I think we could put some good services together, especially some mental and some addiction services to help the homeless. But we are seeing an increase on homelessness, not a decrease. The good news is that CAR, we did talk about assembling and put together a task force. Not that we're going to be the solve all, but that we could be a part of the community and at least participate. And we've got some great realtors. I was down in, I talked to a realtor down in Sacramento. She talked to me today that has a group of people that want to help. We've got a realtor in I forget Kay's last name, Bolton, down in Santa Paula, where she feeds 600 homeless people every week. So we have a lot of realtors out there that have just got giving hearts. We've got some resources. And I think it's a good segue for us to collaborate and coalesce with the legislature and say, you know what, we want to help. We want to be part of the solution. We don't want to be here complaining, but we want to be a part of the solution.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's been so brought to the foreground about realtors is realtors have huge hearts. You know, we're not afraid to jump in and volunteer our time and our efforts. And I think that that's amazing, the lady that you just spoke about and her heart for the homeless. Really, really amazing. Well, turning this just a slight bit, although it really does tie in nicely, Otto and Vince, what you guys have been talking about. Let's talk a little bit about the Code of Ethics change regarding the discriminatory speech and what does this actually mean? And why is this change so significant? And what does it mean for brokers, especially in terms of supervision? This is kind of a loaded question, I think, but Vince, would you like to go ahead and take that one first, and Otto,
Sure.
jump in as you feel fit?
Sure. So we're so proud of our members and the board of directors for taking this historic step to strengthen Realtors' commitment to upholding fair housing ideals. And what our board of directors did was they approved a series of recommendations from NAR's Professional Standards Committee that extend the application of Article 10 to discriminatory speech and conduct outside of members' real estate practices. So as you know, the board of directors applies to what we do typically in transactions. Well, Article 10 now has been expanded to our activities outside of our real estate practice so that realtors must not use harassing speech, hate speech, epitaphs, slurs against any protected class under Article 10. And what is protected classes? It's race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So the board also approved changes to the arbitration manual to help professional standards panels apply the new standards. And these changes took effect immediately. But the changes can't be applied to speech or conduct that occurred before the date of passage. So NAR will roll out training materials, resources to assist leaders with understanding and implementing the changes. And so if you want more information about that, you can go to nar.realtor/code of ethics. Again, nar.realtor/code of ethics, demonstrating realtors are leading the way in relation to society and how we deal with fair housing issues and beyond, taking it to our personal lives. And we're hoping that this has a ripple effect throughout society in a very positive way.
Nice. Otto, do you have anything to contribute to that or not?
Yeah, we've had situations where we've had realtors on social media that have displayed some really unprofessional racist remarks. I mean, I think you guys had a realtor down in Southern California walking down the street with no shirt on and a gun, and it makes the news, you know. And I want to share just a quick story here. I had a colleague of mine that after the George Floyd death, there was this group. Apparently, they're a group that they share their data, and most of them in this group were, and I'm not involved with it, probably about 6 or 7 of them are realtors or lenders. They had, apparently they chat back and forth or whatever, but they did not include me on this email. But what they did do is they tried to justify the death of George Floyd, saying that he was, you know, a rapist, that he'd been in jail, that he was drugs. And they copied my congressman, who was a personal friend of mine, on an email to put it into his face. And my congressman called me, or we did talk, and he sent me an email, and Otto goes, what's this all about? And I called him on this and said, what are you guys doing? This is a congressman that helps us on housing issues. We have a great relationship with him, and you guys want to throw a racial mud at him on something like this? It was just totally disgusting. And I got to say, it was a colleague of mine, and I just said, this is not acceptable, and it's not going to be tolerated. It will not be tolerated. So that's all I wanted to add on that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Just a couple of quick little things. When Tiffany has been putting things in the chat, when Vince or Otto give a website address or a place where you can go to learn more about this. So she's been putting it in the chat, so keep an eye on that. And then secondly, talking about the code of ethics, I have been a realtor for 24 years now. So I've had several 4-year requirements, of course, like we all do for the continuing education to renew our license. I'm right in the middle of trying to renew mine for January, and I just want to give a little plug here. It does relate to what we're talking about, but CAR, for those of you who don't know, offers 48 hours of continuing education for free. And this is the first time I've taken advantage of that. I typically, just go through whoever sends me something in the mail, or yeah, I've got to renew my license, and I pay them $69 or whatever. And I zoom through it and I'm done with that thing in what seems like just a few days. So the bad part is the CAR one, you better focus on it, because they are giving you real life situations and things to learn about. And it's not just like studying for your real estate exam where you just have to figure out how to answer the questions correctly and then you're done with it. So I wanted to give a little plug for that, because what CAR is offering is really good, up-to-date educational information that does apply to us in California. So I imagine they're going to be updating, of course, the Code of Ethics one shortly, because of this new thing that we've passed for it. But anyway, just a little plug there. I'm very impressed with the education that CAR is offering for free. So, all right, that was a little off the subject, but thought I'd throw that in. Okay, so let's talk about, what about Vince? You mentioned the DOJ lawsuit, and maybe you could share with our group what that really is, and then what does that mean? You touched on it, but I'd like you to go into just a little bit more detail. What does that mean as far as the MLS and anything else that we as brokers might need to know about it?
Okay. In November, NAR reached an agreement with the Department of Justice to develop rules that more explicitly state what is already the spirit and intent of NAR's Code of Ethics and our MLS policies regarding commissions and MLS participation. So under this agreement, publicly accessible MLS data, the feeds will have to include the amount of compensation offered to buyer's agents. Buyer's agents will be obligated to provide information to their clients on homes they're interested in. NAR has long encouraged buyer's agents to explain how they expect to be paid, which is typically through cooperative compensation offers from seller's agents. Now, the rule will more definitively state that buyer's agents can't represent their services as free to clients, because some of them are saying, oh, buyers, you don't pay the commission, so it doesn't cost you anything. So that is not the case. And so more disclosure in this area. Again, final changes relating to this is that sellers' prior approval, licensed real estate agents will have access to lock boxes of MLS listed properties, even if the agent doesn't subscribe to the MLS. Okay, so remember, that's licensed real estate agents. That's not just anyone, okay? They'll have access to lock boxes, even if they're not a member or of that MLS. So the NAR will work with the DOJ on the exact rule changes within about 45 days from their complete filing. They haven't filed yet, so we don't have a clock ticking as of yet, but we're expecting that to be done soon. And then when they do that, the NAR Board of Directors will have to approve new rules. and the court overseeing that settlement must approve it. So at that point, we anticipate the new rules will take effect after court approval. So we're looking at many months down the road still. So we'll be working on final rules with our board of directors and seeking input. Entering into this agreement, we're asked quite often, I mean, are we admitting some guilt or wrongdoing? And the answer is no. This is not admitting to any liability, wrongdoing, or truth. It's just working with the Department of Justice and clarifying these issues so that we can provide more transparency to consumers. It just furthers NAR and the MLS's goals of creating an efficient marketplace that fosters cooperation between brokers in order to put consumers first. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. So more to come on that one. Otto, how about we talk a little bit about Prop 19, the CAR sponsored ballot initiative that just passed. What are the benefits that brokers should be aware of? Maybe what are some of the other changes to intergenerational transfer laws resulting from this yes vote?
Well, I think the biggest, and I know this was a controversial proposition, again, even within our own membership, and there was some confusion between 19 and 15, and it was pretty close on the successful passage of Prop 19. I think the biggest plus is, and again, I was on the original Prop 5 task force, the variation on how many transactions we're going to be able to increase, and I've heard anywhere from 60 to 100,000 transactions. So we'll find out once things are implemented. We'll see how 21 goes. I mean, we definitely are in need of more inventory, of more property. So we'll see if Prop 19 will be effective as far as this goes. It will benefit those seniors that have been stagnant, that want to move closer to their grandkids or do a move to another county. Currently, right now, I think it's either 10 or 11 counties that are involved in the transfer of their property taxes. So I think those are two of the biggest benefits. I know the downside is that as far as the intergenerational transfer, there was some resistance regarding that because that did go away.
Okay, good. All right, well, we're going to wrap up our time with the two of you now. So how about something just a little bit fun? What new passion, what new activity have you discovered this year? Vince and then Otto?
Well, it's something that's definitely near my home because that's where we're at these days. So I've taken up cycling, and I cycle within a 20-mile radius of my home typically, and just ride my bike along the water. So it's great to be outside. I think that's important. Just doing something a little bit healthy and really just getting out of the house, I think is important. Other than that, I go between my office and showing properties remotely. So that's been the fun activity, is cycling.
Nice, and good for you too. How about you, Otto?
Well, this year did bring the obstacles. I was going to do my first trip was going to take my wife to Italy. Matter of fact, Dave Walsh and his wife were going to go, the four of us. We planned a 2-week cruise to go around all Italy and spend some time in Rome, go to my family. I've got family in southern Italy. It was kind of a dream vacation. And so that came to a halt. But so what we did is we took the resources. Fortunately, we were able to get reimbursed. We were kind of nervous with Norwegian Airline getting ready to go bankrupt and the cruise lines. We didn't know if we were going to get our funds back. So we ended up, we've been looking for a pontoon boat. So we ended up buying a beautiful pontoon boat up in Placer County. And so that we would leave Thursday after our leadership meeting and head up to, I have a place up in the Sierras. We would go up there, and Friday morning we go out on a boat, and then we would take our call, our broker call, and we would be fishing on the boat and with the speaker on and kind of doing our office work up there. So we just got a new golden doodle in mid-year. I think it was in May. We got a new golden doodle. He's just been a joy to us. When the pandemic hit, my wife, myself, and Craig, a business partner of mine, we would go on hikes. I live by Lake Chabot, which is open, just hundreds of acres in the lake. So we would go 3 or 4 mile walk. And unfortunately, now I've got a problem with my knee. I have tough time going around the block with the dog. So I went in for an MRI the other day to evaluate it and to go see the doctor tomorrow. So my outdoor cycling and walk is kind of limited right now. But I love being around people. I love being around people. Zoom, we've been, especially this past couple months between CAR meetings, NAR meetings, leadership. I don't know how many hours. I got to put a meter on my computer, but it's been a challenge. So I love fishing. I love the outdoors. Fishing season is closed right now. So, but the snow's coming, so we're looking forward to that.
Nice. Well, I'm very sorry that your Italy vacation got scrapped or at least postponed, because that sounds like it would have been a wonderful trip. But it sounds like both of you are doing a great job of not letting the pandemic completely disappoint you and still looking for ways to make it good. So we really thank you for sharing with us. We will be taking some questions and answers at the end. We are trying to end at 12:30. So if you have any, and if we can get to them, you can go ahead and type them in the chat box. But I'm going to go ahead and share with you now some things about being president in 2020 for Orange County Realtors. And, of course, when I was entrusted to serve as your president this year, I never would have imagined that I would have ended up having to or needing to lead through a pandemic. But we didn't let the pandemic take away our focus. And we've navigated through this difficult year with strength, compassion, and integrity, reframing crisis as an opportunity for growth. And as CAR and NAR has done, as well as you've heard from Vince and Otto today, they, through their leadership, of course, did the same thing. So specifically at Orange County Realtors, how did we do this and what did we learn? I think the first thing that we learned is that we are more resilient than we realized. Many of us don't know how far we can be stretched until that moment comes when our worlds are shaken. But during a crisis, I think that problems are a wake-up call for creativity. So along with everybody else, of course, Orange County Realtors had to adapt quickly to help our employees work from home, figure out all the kinks, and develop creative ways to keep in touch and still be productive. Our board of directors and committees had to change the way we did things. Specifically, one example comes up, and that is our in-person meetings. That's how we meet. That's how we conduct business. So we had to figure out a new technology for distributing paperwork and agendas and supporting documentation, which may not sound like it's that hard, but we did struggle with that. And it is kind of interesting to me that we've been trying to get our directors to use Dropbox for the past several years. And it was met with a lot of resistance, including from me. So I'm not trying to tell any secrets out of school here. I didn't like it. But this year we actually really had to use it. And I'm happy to report that we ended up embracing it. So we're good on Dropbox. We added a chat function to our Orange County Realtors website that ended up being a wonderful way to get assistance from staff. We purchased Amazon type lockers that are located outside of the Laguna Hills office so that our members can pick up items from the OCR store, including lock boxes, at their convenience, even after hours and weekends. So that's been a really good success. So to further confirm our resiliency, I invited our board of directors to participate in a message to our members that even in the midst of the pandemic, there is hope. And we're going to play it for you if you haven't seen it yet already. We call this the message of hope. Home is a simple word with a complex meaning.
Home is the place in which we receive initial nurture,
from where we go to make our way in the world, and to which we return,
in person or in thought, for shelter, warmth, and comfort.
Home has taken on a new meaning.
Home is not only a shelter, but also a classroom. an office, a meeting room, and a gym.
Home is a sanctuary, a haven, a safe place to weather this storm.
Home is the setting for new experiences, new hobbies, and new passions.
Home is a place of familiarity where we can laugh, celebrate, and be ourselves.
While enjoying the comfort of home, we're also feeling the power of community.
Coming together to discover new ways
to practice the essential business of real estate.
We are mastering virtual communications
to foster new and existing relationships.
We are donning masks, adapting to new protocols,
and evolving with this new virtual environment.
We are not only selling houses, we are improving
and growing our communities, reinventing ourselves and our businesses.
We are committed to working together to
preserve the American dream of homeownership.
That is why we will mask up, glove up, and show up
to fulfill our primary mission of bringing people home.
So throughout 2020, we also learned that there may be better ways of doing things. Let me give you a couple of examples. Months before COVID was even a word, our Orange County Realtors annual meeting had already been planned. It was going to be held at UCI, and we already had over 400 RSVPs. Then the order prohibiting mass assemblies was issued, and we had to do a quick pivot. After considering numerous options, we ultimately decided to hold the meeting 100% remotely, with each of us speakers doing our portion from our own homes. This was the first time ever. It may not seem like that big of a deal as we are putting on this forum for you, but it was back in March. And this was, of course, before Zoom became a household name. That decision to hold it 100% remotely was made on a Friday. Our annual meeting was at 10 a.m. on the next Monday, so basically one business day later. The annual meeting went off almost without a hitch, except for me. Apparently there is a blooper out there of me introducing the next speaker that didn't quite go as smoothly as it should have. So, but all in all, we had almost 1,400 people signed up, and we ended up saving the association about $40,000 by not doing it the way we've always done it. Another example of doing things better because of the pandemic is regarding the classes that Orange County Realtors offers its members. We've always offered in-person classes, but of course that wasn't going to work under the stay-at-home order. OCR again stepped up to the plate and was able to deliver education and training in a virtual environment, increasing the number of courses offered far beyond what we typically would have in a year and boosting attendance to record levels. We tried new ways of thinking, we challenged the status quo, and we succeeded. We learned without a doubt that there are better ways of doing things that we never would have known without the COVID challenges. We need each other is another lesson that we learned. In a culture that encourages independence, COVID-19 quickly reminded us just how much we need each other. People who didn't think they needed socialization found out that there was a loneliness not necessarily realized before. So with people confined to their homes, apps like Zoom allowed us to stay in touch and became central to our day-to-day lives. Zoom happy hours, Zoom birthdays, Zoom doctor appointments, even Zoom funerals. Families stayed connected. Educational institutions went to class virtually, and businesses realized that they could maintain productivity with the help of collaboration tools like Zoom. For me, Zoom has been a great way of seeing my little sister who lives in Australia. Hopping on a Zoom call, even for a few minutes, brings a smile to both of our faces. It almost takes away the pain of missing each other. From an association standpoint, moving all marketing meetings to an online platform, we were not only able to see newly listed properties, hear about buyers' wants, and stay abreast of industry information, but we got to see our friends. We were able to catch up, and some of those feelings of seclusion disappeared. The last lesson that we learned, actually probably not the last because I think we learned a million, but the last lesson I wanted to focus in on is that it's all about perception. We as a society and as individuals have been tested to our limits in ways we never thought we would be. But here's where hope comes in. What if this year sets us up for our own reset for the year ahead, giving us a new perspective on how to treat each other with kindness and understanding? What if we harness the feelings of pain and loss and turn them into our very own succession as a society? What if we are poised to rebound from 2020 with more strength, compassion, and respect? At OCR, one example of changing our perspective occurred earlier this year, when instead of being disappointed that their already planned potluck had to be canceled, our Global Business Alliance Committee sponsored a Zoom get-together where each of the participants cooked a dish native to their home country. They then shared it on Zoom, educating us and, of course, making our mouths water. And another, instead of holding our OCR annual installation at a far-off venue, spending lots of money and having to drive while fighting the traffic, we held ours this past week, virtually, and we had a virtual cocktail party afterward. We had a great time enjoying each other and sharing drink recipes with each other. Okay, so who knew that peanut butter whiskey and raspberry syrup would taste like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? If you have any questions about that, you can talk to Lori Namazi. Honestly, I'm really open to new ideas. I don't know, Lori, this one's going to take a little more convincing. So in conclusion, we cannot and should not emerge from any crisis unchanged. Not all storms come to disrupt our lives. Some come to clear our paths. The lessons we've learned are numerous. We are resilient. There are better ways of doing things. We definitely need each other, and our own attitude is so very important. The way we choose to see the world creates the world we see. When you look at a field of dandelions, you can either see 100 weeds or 1,000 wishes. Okay, Lori, I'm going to turn it over to you now to hear about your thoughts for 2021 as our president.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for your leadership this year through this pandemic and all of the things we've gone through. And I'd like to especially thank Vince Malta. What NAR did was absolutely incredible this year. We all know it, we all felt it, we're all grateful for it. And Otto, as the newer member of the CAR leadership team, a shout out to CAR as well. Both organizations pivoted on a dime, did it gracefully. And, normally under any other times when there's a lot of change, we hear a lot of grumblings. But I heard so much appreciation for what these organizations did for us to allow us to keep working, to keep some sense of normalcy in our lives. And that's so rare in our industry because we can get our feathers ruffled really easily and take for granted the organizations we belong to. And at no other time, at least in my career and probably in yours as well, have we ever truly understood the value of belonging to these organizations. So huge congrats to CAR and NAR for leading us through this. And of course, Orange County Realtors, we too pivoted on a dime. We produced more education than we typically do, and we produce a lot each year. It's funny in our industry, we always say how busy we are, and if we could just stop time for a little bit so we could catch up, we would really want that. And that's exactly what we got this year. Early on in the pandemic, we kept hearing people trying to put a positive spin on this and call it a pause, call it a potential reset. And we all thought we could agree with that for the short term. We never imagined it would last for the remainder of the year. When I came into 2020, I was looking at that very symbolically of looking back, seeing the clarity. Hindsight is 2020. So I knew for me, 2020 would be a year for me to have a lot of reflection and find out what was working in my life and my career and what wasn't. We certainly didn't expect how the year would turn out, but I absolutely got the time I needed to find that clarity. And so looking forward to 2021, we know that we are going to remain in this condition for a while longer. It's unknown how long, but for the foreseeable future, the rest of December, probably all of January, we'll wait and start talking about February later this month. But at least for the foreseeable future, we are in the same condition that we are for 2020. But I'm very hopeful that in 2021, we will reemerge, we will transition, and it's up to us to really build back better. That phrase was a hashtag I heard back in May at the NAR conference, the urban planning meeting, which was amazing. You know, who would have thought that they would start talking about how communities were built to accommodate the new lifestyle we have during a pandemic. I mean, we've all gone out to eat recently and seen how restaurants have adapted and streets have been closed down so that seating could be outside. And we all walk around and think, we're in Southern California. Why isn't it like this all the time? Why don't we have these kind of restaurant areas all the time? And so they began using a hashtag then, and I don't even know if they started it, but that's where I first heard it, which was Build Back Better. And that really resonated with me. We have such a unique opportunity to build back better, to really listen to our clients and find out what they like about the transaction, what sellers like and don't like about how we used to handle transactions. And let's listen to them. Let's learn and truly come back in a different way. So this is a great opportunity for us. We will probably never have this moment in time to really do that reflection and figure out how can we move forward differently. This industry is over 100 years old and we're not immune to change. We've adapted in many different ways with the different companies that come into the scene and the new technologies that come into the scene. Some people get scared by it and others embrace it and say, change, it's time for change. And so I'm excited about 2021. We will still be together, even if we're still remote. We're all the same distance apart at this point in time. You know, we may have not had the opportunity to have these gentlemen come and join us today if they had to travel down to Southern California, but we're grateful that we can have them on Zoom. So for 2021, I am looking for new ways for us to engage each other and improve our business. And I have to say this just because I always talk about compliance. We need to follow the rules. We need to be compliant. Let's make sure we're all safe. Let's make sure that we can reemerge. Don't do open houses. They're not allowed. And hopefully we will all be able to see each other in person soon. So I'm looking forward to 2021 and leading this wonderful association and remaining very actively engaged in the industry. So thank you.
Nice, nice. I love that hashtag, Lori. That's a good one. So as we come to a close, Otto and Vince, do you have anything else that you would like to share with our group today?
First of all, I just want to say thank you. It's evident from this conversation that you have been and will be in good hands. Thank you, Danielle and Lori. And Otto, thank you for your leadership at the state level. We'll get through anything if we work together. We are an organization unlike any other, that we're represented at the local, state, and national level. And when those things are working on all their cylinders, we could accomplish anything. And 2021 will certainly throw challenges our way, just like 2020 did. But after this year, again, with your leadership, with an incredible membership that you have, the resiliency of that, we'll achieve anything in 2021. So thank you very much for having me today.
I just wanted.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much again for the invite. It's always an honor to be involved with our association and to address what issues that we have going on. You know, we are stronger. You know, I believed in that before this pandemic, and even more now, intensified on how we have to stick together. And I tell people go, what do you think about 21? I'll be glad when this COVID's done 21. I don't want us to become complacent, because the vaccine's coming. Once we get the vaccine, our issues are still there. All the underlying issues that we talk about, the homeless, the fire insurance, the flood insurance, the GSCs, the rent moratoriums, all that stuff is still going to be there. We are very blessed and very fortunate. We're one of the few industries that we are just smoking with business right now. I talked to 31 presidents this morning, and every single one of them said that business is still very busy. So there's a lot of businesses. I'm an old restaurant guy. I am glad I wasn't in the restaurant business during this COVID. I feel sorry for the laundry mat where I used to take my suits and shirts and everything. These people are hurting out there. So I just be cautious. I don't think we've seen anything yet. We have a lot of forbearances that are going on. We have the potential for foreclosures down the road. Again, I don't want to be a doom and gloom or rain on a parade, but at the same time, I want to be a realist. I want to be prepared. I don't react. I want to prepare. I do a lot of reading, and I want to make sure that we are prepared as the state association to make sure that we're able to serve our members and that we're able to meet what their needs are and be successful.
All right, well, thank you, Vince, Otto, and Lori for joining us today. And thank you to the members who have tuned into our Broker Alliance Forum. And from our committee and from the Orange County Realtors leadership and staff, we hope you have a very happy and safe holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all.
Take care, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.